Are you ready for the jingle? I mean, you ready for the intro? Are we ready for this?
I think so.
Okay. With that said,
You know what?
oh my God.
Let's just make sure that.
Oh my God.
Trust myself.
Did you just throw a fart noise in there just as like intermission?
I wanted to make sure my mic was on.
Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the.
It was
Let's all go to the. Take ourselves a.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Rock and Roll the Podcast, featuring Dr. Nick Redbone, Tom Nelson, Dina Diamond, and me,
Brock Johnson.
Today's episode brought to you by
Power Plant Car Audio and Accessories on Kimberly Road, powerplantweb.com, Blaine.
So you got a jingle.
I was working on something because I think
First, before we get to the jingle, we should welcome Dina.
absolutely
Into the
welcome Dina Diamond. Who here?
Hello, Dina.
Who here has done a radio show with Dina Diamond?
Only one.
I got
What a
dibs.
braggart.
Yeah, Dina and I did a morning show together.
Which means we know lots about one
yeah,
another.
that's the work marriage.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, it was. We laughed, we cried, and the thing is, we worked for the worst dipshit in radio at the time.
Yeah.
So we had. Don't worry, I
Barry-
say it all the time. You don't have to worry about it.
I don't have to
Ponson?
say anything.
Was that his name? Barry Ponson, right?
Barry Ponson. Yeah, we used to call him Barry the Show Killer.
Yeah.
You bet. And
I'm surprised for as long as you were over working for Barry, you and
Yes.
Dina never did a show.
No?
No, we passed in the hall a lot, though.
Yeah. We said hi.
Hi.
Aw.
isn't that sweet? That's
Yeah.
sweet.
It was more
here's-
like what she said.
Here's the
Hi.
thing about Dina too. Not only is Dina and I'll say this right now, one of the best voices in radio. As far as female voices go, an absolute straight up go to. And she's been on both sides of the microphone because she sells radio too, and she's a musician. She's a drummer and a singer.
And was not invited to the drummer.
Yeah,
That was Tom's fault.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to take one for the team.
That's
again.
okay. All right, yeah.
That was
just
Tom's
what
fault.
I don't know. Sometimes this guy just comes up with some really awful decisions, and we try and talk him out of it.
No, really.
At the end of the day, I mean, he's the elder, so we listen.
Yeah,
to
what are we
he
going to do?
says.
Argue with him?
Well, I did my only child thing, and I yelled back at the podcast when I had things to say.
We were going to do
I was throwing things in, even though you guys.
Are you an
Yeah.
only child? That
Okay,
explains so much.
No, now let me just explain it this way. I'm the only one my parents had together and raised.
Okay.
My mother had another daughter.
And she gave him up to wolves.
No.
Okay.
She was raised by her dad. My dad had other children
They were given up to
raised
wolves.
by their mothers.
Okay.
And then there was me.
And then there was you.
And
Then there was Maud.
yeah,
But no sacrifices.
but no sacrifice.
Really?
Well, there was this one time at band camp. No.
I didn't know you played a flute, too.
And we're
Oh,
rolling.
yeah, here we go. Look at it.
So we've got a jingle, a new jingle.
For our amazing sponsors, Power Plant on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls.
Blaine.
Power Plant on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Car and truck accessories. And so now I'm going to play Wonderwall. Are you guys? What do you think about me just taking the whole thing into Wonderwall now?
Sure.
Okay, these aren't the chords to Wonderwall, but that's kind of where I've started. I'll sing about Power Plant for like 2 lines, and then I'll just sing Wonderwall.
Do you remember when that band was bigger than the Beatles for about a week?
I remember when they said they were bigger than the
Same
Beatles.
statement that ruined their career.
Absolutely, they deserved it.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, it's still work in progress, but really,
It was a good jingle.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
yeah.
It was great.
I got a tear.
Oh man, I broke him up. They're both crying. That's pretty beautiful. So welcome to episode 26 of Rock and Roll the Podcast. Today's episode is about the recording studio and how it's changed over the years, the studio experience, the music, how it's constructed in the studios, yada yada yada. And it's cool to have Dina here because
She's never been in a recording studio.
Damn it.
Ever.
you haven't been in a recording studio.
No.
I thought for sure I was going to have okay. What about Tommy? Have you done recording?
Nope.
Hey Brock, you ever done any recording?
I have.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna
so two of the four of us have been in recording studios. Okay.
But and I should remind you that I was in punk rock. So when you say recording studio, a lot of times it was a dude's basement who had cool gear.
Okay.
But
or a garage with a
that
boombox.
or a garage with a boombox. Yeah.
I've been in. I have to take it back. I have been in 2 recording studios.
Okay. Did you work in them? Did you record?
I sang in one.
Okay.
And I played drums and sang in the other.
Okay. So you've done it. You've done a little bit of studio time.
So okay, yes.
Liar.
Okay.
The nicest recording studio I'd ever done anything in was, believe it or not, a studio in my hometown. It was called Beach City Studios in Jamestown, North Dakota.
Okay. Do you guys have a lot of beaches in Jimtown?
Well, we call the little part where people swim in the reservoir the beach.
Okay.
It was we're going to the beach.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's where it
Sweet.
came from or this guy forgot that he had left Los Angeles and moved to Jamestown.
Fair
One
enough.
of the two things. And I wasn't there to record music. I was there to record an anti-smoking campaign as a child.
Oh, look at you.
See how that worked out.
Yeah. Well, you don't smoke.
Nope.
You do.
Like and subscribe.
Power plant. Power plant.
Power plant.
Power plant.
Why do we keep going back to that jingle? That's a terrible jingle.
Are you kidding me? That's the best jingle ever written.
It's not.
It's the one that sticks.
It is the one
Yeah.
that sticks.
It's the one you throw it against the wall
I'm
and
outnumbered.
it's stuck. It's just there.
You
Fine.
are outnumbered.
Keep the jingle.
Yeah, you can't
Keep it. To hell with it.
You can't
Keep the terrible jingle.
you can't wipe enough to get rid of that jingle.
That jingle's
And
got 12
I
written all
That's
over
a
it.
jingleberry.
Oh! Da 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 da.
Night, Irene.
Wow.
So the recording studio has changed. The recording, the techniques and everything has changed as the technology goes. The early recordings in studios, for musicians, would have been a 1-channel recording. So in other words, not only can you can only put one mic into the recording device, but there's no multi-tracking. There's no, you've got one microphone in the room and you're layering people and distancing them away from the microphone to get the mix. So in other words, well, if there's going to be drums, we got to put them way back there because they're so damn loud. If there's going to be a trumpet, don't have them facing directly on the microphone. The singers need to be up front. Ooh, she's a little bit louder and she's a soprano. We need to drop her back. Step back 3 steps, Peggy. I mean, that's the way this would have been put together. And yes, I was a little hostile to Peggy.
Peggy, what did she ever do, man?
I don't know.
Just because she can reach a note you can't. Be nice to Peggy.
Goddamn Peggy. Always stealing my soprano thunder.
This is a really tough place for me to be as I try to maintain my Switzerland point of view.
Just you're a good person and you're not.
I am not sure this was a really good move on my part as I need to leave and go sell advertising later today.
Remember, if you're looking to buy radio advertising, why not check in with Dina Diamond, professional, and that bitch can sing.
Switzerland.
So trivia question: does anybody here know, Tommy might, who invented multi-track recording? In other words, the ability to record more than one track and then mix them together into an overall mix. Who invented the technology?
It wasn't Phil Spector.
No. He sure as hell took full advantage of all those tracks.
He kind of changed it. He revolutionized it. But it was around.
It was Edison.
Nope.
Arnie Patterson.
Close. It was Arnie Patterson. He later went on to sing for Journey.
I just assaulted Tom with his own microphone.
The show, how far are we in? And we are
Off the rails.
Yeah, we're
Tommy, now he unplugged his microphone. We taped it on.
you know
We
what?
taped the switch on, and now he unplugs it.
I think you put the tape in the wrong place. You needed to wrap it around Tom.
I need a lavalier or something,
We've decided we've handcuffed him to his chair because he continues to break his own shit. Now, Tommy, you should know who this is. When I tell you, you're going to be disappointed in yourself.
I'm always disappointed in myself.
His nickname comes from the fact that he pioneered so much recording technology. Les Paul.
No way.
Yeah.
Get out.
The Wizard
didn't really
of
know that.
Waukesha. He invented...
He is the Wizard of Waukesha.
He invented the first multi-track recording, which changed everything. I don't know. I would guess it was probably a 2-track that he first put together.
Yeah.
Then it started to multiply from there. You had 4-track studios. I know that Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, the first studios they recorded in were 8-track studios. So you would jump up, and now I think the standard is, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the big board standard became 64 channels.
Yeah.
That's where you would see these big, huge, the giant walls that you're used to, the big, giant mixing consoles you're used to. Mm-hmm. Before Les Paul, there was one knob controlling one microphone. And if you think about the art of recording then, imagine how good you had to be.
And, before the 60s, as a performer in the studio, you didn't have a way to monitor yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That all.
Wow, that's a mind blower right there.
That all started to come in with when Les Paul kind of broke open multi-track. That's when they realized, well, we need to be able to monitor all of these tracks, and then you could start to mix and master and put EQs on individual tracks. Let me just, so I don't get way ahead, because there's going to be people listening who don't know what I'm talking about. Each track,
hey, I'm right here.
Each instrument on a record exists in its own track for the most part. The guitars are sitting on their own tracks. The bass is on its own tracks. The drums are going to be on several tracks. You'll have the overheads for the cymbals. You'll have each individual drum mic'd off. You'll have the kick drum mic'd off. Sometimes you'll have 2 mics on the kick drum so you can get the front and the back head. I mean, it's a massive undertaking to get this done. And once again, before Les Paul, 1 track. And just think about all the nuance in those old recordings. How did they get them?
Well, drums today are a pain in the ass to record.
Absolutely.
With all of today's technology and microphones and gear, they're still a pain in the ass to get right.
They really
You got to make sure microphones are, just the right distance away.
Yep.
You need to make sure that one drum isn't overpowering another drum in this microphone, and so I can't even imagine trying to pull it off with one microphone hanging down from the ceiling or whatever.
And I've heard stories about in England when they first started to get their big multi-track studios, they would have guys in like Abbey Road. When the Beatles went in, they were still dealing with it. These guys in white lab coats, who, if I want more reverb on that snare drum, I have to tell this guy who tells one of those white lab coat guys to go up to the studio and give me reverb, which is, but that was a very, English way to do things. But the technology was so new, you didn't want some stoned out, artist messing with the one console you have in the entire country,
which is what you have in today's world of producers.
Exactly.
I've seen.
Right. And when that studio thing happened, when the revolution started to happen, that they had the ability to do more tracks, that's when you started to have. That's when the ability, we've talked about the guys from the Wrecking Crew. That's when you had the ability for these studio professionals to come in and knock out 2-3 albums in a week because all of the tracks were all set up. They could go in and they were so good, they could all record everything at the same time. The tracks would be perfect. Then they could drop in the singers or whatever and be done in an afternoon. And that brings us to the different techniques in the studio. There's a million different ways to record when you're in the studio. Some bands do it live, and that's
the best.
That's the way to do it, man. It really is.
It really is. That's when it sounds the most alive. And by live, I mean you get your drummer, your bass player, your guitar player, your keyboard player, maybe not the singer, because the singer will kind of want to go in and do more than one take. But you get the bedrock tracks. They all go in and they play that rhythm track together. They play the song just like it is. And depending on how good they are and how tight they are, they might get it in one take. Right. They might get it in 60 takes.
And there might be a clinker in there that they leave in.
For sure.
That happens a lot.
And which you should, because as radio people, we know a lot of our work is recorded. And sometimes it's the one or the 2 that have a little whoopsie that you leave that make it more real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the people will start.
Becomes the gold.
And that's where people want to buy your concert tickets, want to come and see you live, because they know what we hear here is what we're going to hear there.
Exactly. Yeah. And you really get, that's a great point. with the advance in the studio, it became. The Beatles, the Beatles stopped touring. Once upon a time, that was an option. You could quit touring and make money on your records. Right. The Beatles decided to quit touring so they could really throw themselves into a studio environment. And if you think about it, they couldn't have done Sgt. Pepper's on stage. Mm-hmm. They couldn't have done A Day in the Life on stage. So much of that stuff would Eleanor Rigby. You know what I mean? They put themselves in a position where they were recording stuff that could never be translated to the live stage with the Fab Four. Mm-hmm. And lots of bands did that. They would create these huge sonic things that could never translate onto the stage. And those were the bands that were doing it track by track by track. Now, that's the other way to do it. And that's the way... Here I badmouth it. And that's how the band I was in for so many years did it. We would record the drums first, and then the bass, and then the first rhythm guitar. Then we would double the rhythm guitar. Then we would triple it. Then the other rhythm guitar, double it, then triple it. You know what I mean?
Overproduce.
Completely overproduced. Yeah. You do get, that's how you make perfect, quote unquote, sounding records. Right down on the zeros and the ones. That's how you get that absolute almost anal retentive precision. But like Dave Grohl has said, where did the soul go?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's part of being in Prague, is getting that so finely tuned in.
As
an aside.
For sure. I mean, it was because of the genre that we were playing. Yeah. I mean, it was hard to go in and just, go in and bust out an 18-minute song.
Right.
You can't just, we're just going to bang that one out. We'll get it in a couple of takes. No, you're not.
and what's happened now, and it's probably been happening a lot longer than I was aware of, but we have bands that we play on our stations. We're not going to name names, but when they get on stage, they want to pull it off like they did in the studio. They're playing the tracks.
Yep.
You see 4 or 5 guys or gals on stage, but you have no idea that there's also 8 recordings that are coming out of those monitors as well.
Exactly.
That are just, they're tapes.
Well, and yeah, boo hiss, sort of boo hiss. I mean, if I'm a paying, I'm going to see the show. I want to see the show. I want to hear the show. So yeah, boo hiss that. But let's be real. Let's know what we're going in for. I mean, Milli Vanilli. No, they weren't. Yeah. They weren't who they said they were. But who cares? We were all buying it.
Right.
If you can go into it that mindset,
let me go see them.
But as a purist, sometimes I'm just like, you know what?
But I will hear overproduced acts now when they come out with something new, and a lot of the new music is that. I mean, that's
so
all
much
it is.
So,
there is no soul. It is just what can I pump out on my laptop in my room and send it out into the world as music, which is fine.
Yep.
I am not. Judge not.
And boy, did you just hit on the next evolution that almost shut down studios.
Well, there's no need for them.
The laptop.
There is no need for a studio today, or is there a need for a drummer, or is there a need? I mean, some of my favorite movies are the Pitch Perfect movies, and I'm watching her with the what is that? The buttons. And I'm like, hey.
Just replaced a drummer with a box.
No wonder I don't have a job currently, or
Yeah.
And I think there is an art form to that as well.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Going back to the part where they're doing that on stage, where they're playing the tracks and stuff, I think that is every bit as much artistic as going up and doing it live and genuine. Because you've got to be smart to be able to pull that crap off. And it still takes putting together the pieces of the puzzle to make that happen.
The technician that it takes to put that kind of stuff together, to make it... Look, it's not going to sound live. It's obviously going to sound like it's been very much glossed over and candied over. And some of them might be plugged in on stage. Some of them might not be.
There was a band that we brought into Diamonds.
Okay.
And I'm not, again, I'm just not going to name names because they deserve more respect than that. But when their stage was set up, the guy who was running the board told us in confidence that they were playing to 8 tracks. There were 8 tracks of crap that wasn't actually happening on stage that the audience had no idea was coming out of a box.
It's one thing to trigger an intro. It's another thing to trigger your hit.
The entire everything.
Yeah, to trigger your show. Now, I got to watch a band. I'm going to go ahead and name the bands. And look, these guys.
You're an ass.
No, well, one of them kind of hosed us, so it's okay. Do you remember Dead?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we played Dead until they were awful to us in a promotional setting, so we don't play them anymore. But
just on an aside, I had that singer on the air a couple of years after that whole thing went down.
Right after the incident,
he was very cool.
Okay,
and they were very apologetic.
Okay, well, that's
so
good to know. I didn't know that.
I buried that hatchet, and maybe I didn't share that with you. But
you didn't, because I was about to light them on fire.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you can. They're.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. They were a band that played a whole bunch of tracks. Most of their show came out of a box. Now, I saw them play with Wayland. It was the same show. It was at Diamonds. Now, Wayland is a blues-based, stripped-down, plug a Gibson into a Fender and go
That's
type
my
band.
music.
Exactly.
That's my music.
See, me too. And I remember talking to the guitar player for Wayland, and he said he saw all of the rig and he saw their sound check, and he said, "Watch what we do." So Dead went up and did their compact 45-minute, play nothing but the hits, right on the zeros and ones, out of the box set. And then Wayland went up and crushed it, singing and playing everything live. They did a 15-minute Led Zeppelin medley with a dazed and confused guitar solo.
And you hated it.
And you know how much I hate Led Zeppelin. So much I hate Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
But you know what? The year that Dead played Edgefest, and this is going back to what I was saying about how it's still an art form.
Yeah.
When Dead played Edgefest, that was my favorite set of the entire show.
Yeah, they were phenomenal.
Knowing that a lot of it was coming out of a box because it's still a performance.
And what I saw when I saw both of those bands do that thing, you know what else I saw? A crowd that loved the shit out of both bands.
Shows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, and we've said it before, and I'll say it again, it's only rock and roll. I mean, at the end of the day.
But I like it.
Absolutely. It's not like we're curing cancer here. And if we were curing cancer.
Oasis did, though.
Yeah, Oasis cured cancer, and they were bigger than the Beatles.
They cured pancreatic cancer.
And they cured the Beatles.
And
it was all brought to them by the power plant.
On Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, powerplantweb.com.
Powerplantweb.com, car audio
Hold on,
and
my
accessory.
phone's...
Why don't you turn your damn phone
Yeah,
off?
I should have. Is that a... Oh, don't worry. It's just a spam risk. I could have taken the call, but I didn't. Oh, hell with it. Now, okay, Oasis. Yeah, we hate them.
Oh, well, I'm glad you didn't sugarcoat it, because I wouldn't have known how you felt.
Yeah.
Now, here,
we try and keep things level.
Oh, totally. And
everything's on the table.
We never pick fights.
No.
I had the opportunity when I first started recording. I mean, the very, very first recordings I did were on a Tascam 4-track, like, the cassette goes in it.
Yep.
And they sound just like they went onto a cassette. And we were, 17.
And you were proud as hell about it.
So proud.
Yep.
But my first real, actual recording experience, I got to do in a recording studio on tape. On the big reels of tape.
The
like
reel to reel.
Oh, man. And we went and we recorded we got our rhythms done live. We went in and we were tight as hell. We nailed our songs in like 2 or 3 takes, and then the overdubs start.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to, Tommy, explain what an overdub is?
You're basically just redoing a part that didn't work well, or for whatever reason,
right.
It has to be redone later on.
And that's also where that's how you add vocals. That's how you add guitars. That's how you add everything you throw over the top is an overdub.
Right.
So now, we got all the rhythms. Now we got to cut the guitar solos. Okay, got the guitar. Stop touching your goddamn microphone. Tommy, he touches it and then he backs off like he's afraid of it.
At least it's my microphone.
I had to, and for that I'm grateful.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the guitar.
I was going to slap him away from it there for a second, as a mother would, but now
the microphone, or
yeah, that too. Stop touching it. Stop touching it. You'll go blind.
Dina. It's better to let him finish once he gets started with his microphone.
That was uncalled for.
Yeah, but I did it anyway.
They didn't see this.
And that was brought to you by Power Plant on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Right now, listen, do you hear that? Blaine is desperately trying to find Sage's phone number to cancel his sponsorship.
Yeah. Stop
You can
now.
hear it.
Stop now.
Yeah.
Blaine.
Yeah, please, Blaine. Please, Blaine, don't quit.
We're begging.
We wrote you a jingle.
You heard it and you loved Power Plant,
Power Plant, Power Plant, Power Plant.
Where did the clap come from?
I love it, though.
The clap was supposed to be part of the original piece, and now it's just some dumbass thing you do at the end.
It's called a big finish, Brock. It's called a big finish.
It's the extended mix.
It is necessary in rock and roll.
It's the dance mix.
The 7-inch dance mix.
You've got to have a big finish in rock and roll. You just have to.
With pyro and...
Yeah. Well, and you know what? We ain't got we don't even have a budget for a goddamn table, much less pyro. So I'll clap my hands. Thank you very much.
You guys do need a table.
Now, we were... so I got to do recording on tape. The last 3 albums that I did were all in a house, all of it running through the cords, running through the crawl space into a parlor that had been turned into a recording studio. I haven't been in a studio since 1990.
I haven't been in a house with a parlor.
I was going to say parlor? What the hell is a parlor? Was this a funeral home?
A funeral home that moonlights as a recording studio.
Everyone's dying to go there.
Did they have
Dad joke time. Da, 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 da.
Did they have the thing out front that you tie the horses to?
Yeah, packing gear out sucked. Come here, Smokey. Time to load the Marshall up.
Narrow hallways, steep
Smokey
stairs.
was my roadie horse.
They have a working pack of donkeys.
Smokey, the horse who rode it for band.
Well, it's time to head back home. Get the pack animals.
I can totally see the dress he had to wear while he was in that house.
Okay,
God,
so now,
Smokey killed me.
So now you're picturing a horse, very stoned, very dirty blonde hair, wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt and a laminate.
And sunglasses.
Smokey, the horse who roadied for show.
Smoking a USA Gold.
Oh, God.
Yes. Oh, man. We've done some fine work here.
We really
Killed me right there, man. You killed me.
Well, I do what I can. I like
Wonder
to
you worry about your sponsor.
I like to bring mirth. I like to bring mirth. Now, there's sort of a renaissance in recording happening again, and once again, we can say thank you, Dave Grohl.
Well, he bought the gear.
He bought the board from one of the most famous recording studios ever. He bought the Neve board from Sound City. Killer documentary, by the way. It's on YouTube right now. You can watch it for free with ads. I strongly suggest it. Every band ever pretty much recorded on this thing. All of the American bands that wanted to record in LA, I mean, everyone from Pat Benatar to Rage Against the Machine, to Dio, to Rick Springfield, to Cheap Trick, to Fleetwood Mac, it just went on and on and on. All these great albums were recorded on this board. And Dave took the board home. He bought it because Sound City was finally closing their doors. He bought the board, he bought the recorders, he moved it all into his studio at his house.
His parlor.
And records on tape into his parlor. Smokey!
I was going to say, loaded up Smokey. Take it to Dave's house.
Hey, Smokey, did you get the Grohl gig? Smokey, the roadie horse. I sense another song coming.
I just sense a series.
It's either a song coming or a stroke. Thanks, Tom.
I can see a new show I'm going to be watching on Thursday nights.
I would like to point out, by the way, we are all sober-ish.
Believe it or not.
They don't.
We're sorry.
It gets better when we're trashed. Grohl was really outspoken. He said, it's those mistakes. It's getting a little bit off the beat. It's singing a micro cent off the pitch that makes it sound like human beings making the music.
It gives it some soul. It gives it some heart. It gives it some depth.
And it's there is a warmth that comes along with recording on tape too.
No question.
I mean, you've got such. And in fact, I was reading an article, believe it or not, with Billy Joe Armstrong. They were talking to him about all of the Green Day albums, and they asked him if you could re-record any one of your albums, which one would it be? And he said, I would go back into the studio and re-record Warning.
Okay.
Warning was recorded in, I want to say, like 1999. It came out in 2000. But he said it was when Pro Tools were brand new. Everybody was trying to figure out how to use it. Everybody was trying to use all of the little tricks and features and stuff. And it lost some of that originality because there was so much going on and everybody wanted to play with the new toy.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said for a good old-fashioned warm tape recording.
I can remember, and this happened many times, working on records in an all-digital format. And, we'd get to a part where I had to play, I'd have to play the same chord progression for, 32 bars, 64 bars, whatever. And, okay, we can sit here and I can take it, or you can take me to playing it 4 times, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy. And you're damn right, we filled some of the bedrock tracks that way because we could. And I know I'm not, I was listening to a band, I want to say it's the new one by Black Veil Brides. I was listening to it, and the chorus, he sings the hook exactly the same way every time. Because he sang it once, and they took the best take. Is that wrong?
That, by the way, Scarlet Cross, I think the best song Black Veil Brides have ever kicked out.
Here's the question: is that wrong?
Not necessarily. No. It's really part of the creative process, I think.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dina's waiting. Dina, what do you think?
Is
it wrong?
No, I don't think that it's wrong. No, I finished your thought because I was going somewhere else in my head. Don't mind me.
He's already forgotten where
I was on
at.
vacation.
Because at the same time, I'll hear from that song. We'll go into Rollin' Sevens by Dirty Honey, and it's very obvious that they plugged in and played in a studio and probably tracked that thing live. You can hear it in the guitars. You can hear it in the the great thing about recording live in one of those great sounding rooms is the room itself becomes an instrument. If you mic it right, the drums sound better in a great room. You get the great sound of the acoustics of the room.
Yeah, some of the best, and this is just from what I was doing some research, some of the best recordings have been in these studios that were once churches.
Yes.
George Martin's studio in London was an old church. There's a couple of Columbia studios in New York that were old churches.
Right.
And you get that, these 100-foot high ceilings.
Yeah, exactly.
You really get a different sound.
Well, and like you were saying earlier, you were talking about how they could go in with just one track and record. It was all about the acoustics in the room. And if you look back and see, pictures of these rooms that they were recording in and how they had the drummer over here and they had the guitars and the piano was over here and just the way that everything was set up in the middle and brought it all in. That's what it is. It's the warmth of that. And the funny thing about all of this is, in my opinion, is that we hear it.
Right.
We hear the difference between produced on Pro Tools or whatever, or produced on a reel. We hear it, but not everybody does.
Right.
And not everybody understands that, I don't like that live version, but I sure like this version. Well, this is because this is what you're being fed all the time.
Yeah.
And that live version is something that's so unique and you don't get to hear.
That's right. A live version happens once.
Yeah.
The only people that get to enjoy the live version of your song are the people that were there that night. Now, somebody might record it. It's not the same.
Nope,
It's not the same.
Now, and I think it's more common in some genres than it is in others.
Agreed.
Rock, I would say we're probably 50-50, somewhere in there.
Probably.
But look at pop music today.
Oh, boy.
It's all out of a box.
For sure.
There's nothing happening instrumental.
Outside of
in country, that's a different beast entirely, too, because they've never bullshit about the fact that they're not writing their own songs and they're usually not playing on their own records.
Yeah.
It's studio musicians making it happen in Nashville.
Exactly.
But I have to respect the fact that they have never denied that.
Agreed.
Whereas in rock, the bands that we were talking about, they wouldn't tell anybody what was happening.
Of course not. And well, we had the whole decade of the 60s where, as we've covered on this podcast, there were about 20 people playing all of the records, and none of them were in the bands.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, I want to touch back again on just the time that I did. I've recently kind of gone back and listened to some of the stuff that I did, the 3 albums I did with Fool's Bane, and even though, yes, they were done under some very sterile, very digital circumstances, that doesn't change the fact that we still got the ideas that we had in our heads out. You can still be a great musician even if you are using the digital tools present. Sure. At the same time, there are people who simply aren't good enough to be musicians, but the gear lets them do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure pop radio is playing a bunch of them. They look great. they might not sound great. And I don't want to bag on pop musicians because, they're doing what they do. And some of them are very good.
Again, though, it's another art form. I don't think that it's necessarily wrong. It's just different.
Apples and oranges. Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that you touched on the Nashville thing, because if you have the town with the best recording studios and the best studio guys in the world, why wouldn't you use them?
Yeah.
If I had a handful of songs that I wanted to make it, I would handpick the best studio hacks in Nashville to play and sing my shit.
Yep.
In a hot second, and everyone would.
And I think probably part of I think I envy those people that can set up in their own house and play it out and make it sound like it was produced in a studio. I got a little envy going on, because not only have they managed to get out into the world with their music, but I can't even get into a regular studio to even dream of doing something like that.
Yeah.
And nor would I ever even think for a second that I could actually try and produce it on my own.
The thing is, if you want to set up a home studio, like today, if you wanted to set up a professional sounding home studio, you can do it for under 20 grand.
And easy.
And your house
under 10.
and your home studio will sound as good as your technical ability will let you dial it in.
I've got a parlor and 15 grand.
And a horse who works for weed.
Smokey.
Hey, bro, that's how I got my nickname. I'll carry your Fender Twin for a bong hit. Smokey, the horse that rode for bands.
If you look at, I just brought her up.
It's a t-shirt.
Billie Eilish. I'm sure Billie Eilish and her brother are doing things in big, expensive studios now, because now she's made it.
But
those first hits that we were hearing, Bad Guy, that came out of their bedroom.
And stuff she had saved on her phone.
Yeah.
She's like voicemails and the sound of the dentist. And I mean, that's the next frontier.
Yeah.
And I think Billie Eilish, she's a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, the old guy in me wants everybody to go into the studio and bash it out live and get the, blood, sweat, and tears onto the tape. I want that. I want you to get the room sound by distance miking.
Back in my day.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they can make a great sounding record that the consumer is going to love, and they can do it with a plug-in as opposed to a microphone 5 feet behind the amplifier, then so be it. It really, at that point, I think it comes down to preference. I want to do records like Keith Richards does, but I don't have a Keith Richards budget. So, I'll do it in a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's always subjective.
For sure.
The end result is going to be what it's going to be. You either like it or you don't, but how you get there is your own journey.
Whatever it takes to get that great vision you have, that great song in your head out, whatever it takes to make it the best it can be, go for it.
Yep.
Go for it.
I think with technology, too, further adding to your point, it has made it easier for a lot of people to do what they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing that I think about is your gadget that you bought here about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
My Helix.
Your Helix, where you can turn any amp you can turn that into any amp that you want to be playing through.
Yeah, I have a piece of outboard machinery called a Helix Lt. It comes Line 6 does it. And this machine, I can pick the amplifier I want to use. I can pick the overdrive I want to put it through. I can pick the microphone that I have on it and how far away the microphone is. I can basically make, and then I can stack them. Oh, I've taken a 65 Fender Twin, and I'm going to go ahead and stack it up with a high watt, or a volt. I mean, or a Vox. I mean, it's insane what I can do. And and at the same time, I also have a kick-ass custom Fender Deluxe amp that I will do when I want to play organically. But yeah, I bought that tool. I have all the guitars I ever wanted in a box for $1,000.
Yeah.
Did you just see me glass over? It was all dark. I heard nothing that you were saying once you started Helix, blah, 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 blah. Wah, 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 wah. It was like Snoopy or the Charlie Brown's teacher. And so that brings me to my point that it's so intimidating to an acoustic drummer I've played electric drums. My dad and my uncle played electric guitar. I mean, I've been in a band with the electric, but when I get in that acoustic setting, that's where I'm at home. Right. That's where I feel like, okay, I can fit in. I can do my thing. I can play these drums. I can do. And then they start bringing in microphones and doing this and doing that, and I'm thinking, I don't know what to do.
Now you're under the microscope.
And now everything I do, you're going to hear it.
Yeah. I can tell you this, as a guitar player, as a musician, as a songwriter, blah, 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 blah. I can't imagine myself ever playing on a record without a real drummer. I know you can do it. And I might even demo stuff with a drum pad or drum machine, but without a real drummer, you don't have a band. I just can't. Yeah. That I could never do. I love the sound of a great real drummer laying down an actual groove.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm to the point now where I'm a drummer and I'd love to start playing drums again. But which
would make you a drummer.
Correct. But I haven't in years because I don't have a full kit.
Sure.
And I've toyed with the idea of buying an electric kit because you can get into an electric drum set for $200-$300.
Exactly.
But it's so fake. I don't want to be playing one of those.
And here's the thing. It's not that it's fake. It feels like I'm cheating. I totally feel like I'm cheating because the sound that I'm getting is like, whoa, I am so good.
Right.
I sound fantastic on these drums. I'm totally cheating.
Yeah. Look, I'm not doing anything with my Helix. Suddenly I have Jimmy Page's amp rig from 1975 dialed in. Oh, I sound awesome. Do I? Or am I just faking it through a great sounding filter?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Same thing. And the same thing when I'm singing. I know if I'm singing around the campfire, okay, yeah, no wonder you don't get paid to sing. But then if somebody lights me up with a mic and the right, they process it. Just, why am I not singing somewhere? There's all these things that go with it.
You should have been here for the drummer episode.
You think? Maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Nelson. What a son of a
wait, you know what episode I was not here for?
What episode weren't you here for?
With the drummer episode.
But
there was another episode I wasn't here for. And so I brought you guys these.
Pickled it!
And I'm going to tell you, I had to drive all over hell and tarnation to find these. Now it's just
awful.
I know. I've taken the show completely off the rails. No,
oh God! I thought she was going to open the jar.
I'm moving.
It's a fresh jar. I just bought it.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, no, they're pickled.
They're rotten.
They're pickled. They'll last forever. No, it's a fresh jar, and the only ingredients are eggs, vinegar, water, sugar, salt, and then something I can't pronounce.
That's an abomination.
That is.
No, but it's your gift from me to you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Now here's the
thanks.
Hey, you know what? Let's put those in a filing cabinet and see if they disappear.
Hey, that'd be awesome.
Now here's the thought.
No, there'll be 2 eggs left.
Now did you hear that, Tom?
They'll leave 1 egg.
They're pickled. They'll last forever. Tom, you're Highlander. You're immortal. You're gonna live forever.
I've heard that somewhere before.
Oh boy,
pickles and Twinkies.
That's right.
Bring on the apocalypse.
Did we crush this podcast?
I think so, other than the Muppets being especially thick today.
So loud upstairs.
Yeah.
See, we work with a couple of guys who are made of felt and are crewed by 7 people to make them move and talk. And for the love of Christ, every single time we start this podcast, one of them gets a goddamn hair up his ass and starts yelling about stuff nobody cares about but him. Robble, 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 robble. And that's been Rock and Roll, the podcast. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. Before we do anything, thank you so much, Dina, for joining us.
Oh, I'm glad I could come and, throw in so much knowledge.
You did. You threw in a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Dina, you crushed it. Wait till you listen back. You're going to go, God damn, I'm a superstar.
Yeah.
But why did I bring pickled eggs?
And why doesn't anyone want me to sing in their band anymore?
You know what we learned? You know what we learned today? We learned that Dina may or may not be traveling with pickled eggs at any time.
Oh.
We learned about Smokey, the horse that roadies for bands.
I love Smokey.
I am totally making that T-shirt for all of us.
I want a Smokey the roadie T-shirt so bad.
How does that not happen?
Right? But big thanks to everybody that has listened to the podcast. Please share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, share it with somebody. We're working hard on this, but we have a blast. And make sure to go and see Blaine at Power Plant on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. We love him because he apparently doesn't listen to the show.
And remind the guys that next time they have a drummer podcast, maybe someone should get the invite.
It's true. Until the next time, my name's Dr. Nick. That's Brock Johnson. That's Tom Nelson. That's the amazing Dina Diamond. Peace, love, and rock and roll. We out of here. Like and subscribe.